This is St. Louis 11 News at 9.
Good evening. Welcome to this late edition of St. Louis 11 News.
Our top story tonight, people who live in the path of planned airport expansion are holding a big rally tonight.
They're protesting the adoption of a plan for that expansion.
Well, the Airport Commission today accepted a recommendation to extend a runway 8,000 feet across Lindbergh into a residential neighborhood in Bridgeton. Well, tonight, Bridgeton residents turned off their lights in protest at about 8 o'clock, gathered at the Carrollton Community Center, and rallied around a large bonfire in which they burned Mayor Schoemehl in effigy. They are completely united in their effort to defeat the airport expansion proposal. They believe the $1 billion expansion is not only disruptive to their community, but will not solve the problem of expansion in the future. They want another airport built elsewhere in the metro area.
Well, the Airport Commission is well aware of the residents' feelings, but nevertheless, the Commission is going ahead with steps toward expanding Lambert Field. The Airport Commission today accepted the recommendation that the expansion plan called F4 be adopted. According to the consultants of the plans under consideration, it would serve the community best with the least amount of disruption.
It was determined that F4 has the lowest overall impact on the metropolitan area overall. It provides us with the opportunity to expand the capabilities we move out in time. And again, the benefit there being that we have the opportunity to grow air services to the St. Louis metropolitan area, continue St. Louis's growth as an economic base within the Midwestern part of the United States, and allow it to continue to expand its population and industrial employment basis.
This is not the final word, however. The FAA requires an environmental impact study that could take up to 2 years, and then a comparison study must be made.
Since we now know what we feel is the proper configuration for Lambert Airport in the future, it must be looked at in comparison with another airport site outside of St. Louis, where a new major hub airport would be constructed. This must be compared with that economically, environmentally, operationally, and politically.
The meeting at the airport was picketed by residents of Bridgeton who oppose any expansion of the airport.
I think as a community, it's going to totally destroy us. The city can come into our community and take our homes and leave us with reduced property value and reduced facilities.
We're just absolutely shocked by the tyranny in this particular situation where one person, the mayor of the city of St. Louis, controls the whole process.
Bridgeton city officials are wondering the same thing. They also wonder why so much is being spent on this limited expansion of Lambert Field, when to be really a major airport, they claim much more expansion will be needed in the future.
The greater good should be for the metropolitan area. It's a Band-Aid. Once it's completed, and it will require 10 years. If we got problems at Lambert today, they're only going to be intensified during the next 10 years. It's a Band-Aid. After it's complete, we'll look at the next expansion. We deserve better than that.
If the plan is actually put into effect, the airport will have to buy up an estimated 800 to 900 homes in the path of the runway. If the airport plan 4 is adopted, this would be the neighborhood that would be bought out. It's not an inexpensive neighborhood. The house behind me is listed at $118,700. Homes in this area range in price from $70,000 to $120,000, averaging between $85,000 and $100,000. Bridgeton officials say the battle is not over, and they'll exercise all their options. They expect to win. It will be a couple of years at least before any actual expansion can begin. After all, the studies are completed and the comparisons made. And the only sure thing at this time is that the St. Louis area needs a bigger airport, whether at Lambert or somewhere else. Done.
For St. Louis at 6.
Good evening. If all goes as scheduled, airplanes will be taking off and landing within 5 years in what is now the city of Bridgeton.
Today, Lambert released the expansion plan, which we told you about on News 4 at 6 last night.
News 4's Jeff Rainford reports as many as 1,000 homes in Bridgeton will have to be bulldozed to make way for that new runway.
Lambert officials today began the job of selling airport expansion to the public. They say if another runway is not added and the terminal expanded, St. Louis could lose its hub status, meaning flying here would be a lot less convenient.
If this other thing occurs, you would leave St. Louis, go to Chicago and change planes and go someplace else, or go to Dallas and change planes and go someplace else, or go to Denver and change planes and go to someplace else, or any other major hub.
As News 4 reported last night, the airport's consultant has picked the plan known as F4. Today, the Airport Commission accepted it. The airport would replace 2 existing runways with 3 new ones. 2 would be moved slightly north, but the controversy is over the 3rd runway, more than 1.5 miles long. It would go into Bridgeton, across the intersection of Natural Bridge and Lindbergh, up across Fifi to the Berry Hill Golf Course. Lambert officials estimate 1,000 homes, most of them in a corridor along Gist Road, would be taken. But St. Louis Aldermanic President Tom Villa, a member of the Airport Commission, says that is the price of progress.
And in this particular instance, this progress is going to be particularly painful to the people in Bridgeton. However, I think most of the rest of the entire metropolitan area is best served by this current location of Lambert.
Airport officials say besides adding the 3 runways, the expansion plan would double the space in the terminal, add 39 gates, 11,000 parking spaces, all at a cost of $900 million. Now, if a bill passes in Congress, they hope to pay for it through a tax on airline tickets, because the FAA just doesn't have the money.
There'd be a surcharge on a ticket for in-plane passengers.
The FAA is asking Lambert officials to study the feasibility of building a new airport west of St. Louis, just to make sure that's not a better option. In addition, an environmental impact study of the city of Bridgeton will have to be done. But if the FAA approves and all goes as planned, the first runway could open in 5 years, and that is the runway that extends into Bridgeton. So there's a lot of controversy, a lot of study still ahead.
And a lot of steps to be taken before we know anything final. Thanks, Jeff.
And the impact really stretches beyond the extension of the runway, because now homes which are far from the airport are right on the border.
Well, that's a controversial subject, though, because the airport says, given new technology and given this plan, it is possible that fewer people out at Lambert Airport would be hurt by the noise of the airliners than right now, but there will be a different set of people that will be hurt.
All right, thank you. We continue our team coverage by moving northwest of Lambert to Bridgeton, where those airport neighbors are calling this Black Thursday. News 4's Eric Thomas reports on those battle lines.
The Bridgeton Air Defense Group had been waiting weeks for Lambert officials to choose an expansion plan, opposition growing all the while. Today, they met the announcement head-on, packing picket signs at a briefing session for government officials at the Henry VIII Hotel, then again at an Airport Commission meeting at Lambert Field, all the while with the promise that the fight is just beginning.
We have the public behind us. I don't want it to get personal myself against Mayor Schoemehl, but he's the guy that has to make the final decision. And I think for that reason, we need to get to him and let him know how our people feel.
Essentially what it would do is bring an airport runway right out on top of our homes and leave us sit there.
The big fear in homes along the tree-lined streets of Bridgeton is that their peaceful coexistence with the airport will be shattered by the noise generated by a 3rd runway to be built deep inside their community. At a news conference this afternoon, Bridgeton's mayor wondered how much thought had been given to that.
They talk in terms of a noise contour that doesn't look realistic to us. It's based on, and I don't doubt those men, it's based on assumptions that we don't feel that really are the day's world.
Although some residents worry that fighting the resources of the airport and the city of St. Louis will be impossible, the mayor remains confident. If there is one positive note out of today's announcement for Bridgeton residents, it's that the speculation is now over. They know which airport expansion plan has been chosen and what steps they have to take to combat it. Bridgeton officials say they'll use the 2 years it takes to complete an environmental impact statement on the expansion to do just that. Eric Thomas, News 4, Bridgeton.
Another note to this, Lambert will announce specific details of the expansion plan at a public hearing on October the 28th.
And now, Channel 5 Eyewitness News Update.
Bridgeton residents burn an effigy of Mayor Schoemehl in a show of anger over airport expansion. Good evening, I'm Dick Ford.
And I'm Karen Foss. Hundreds of Bridgeton residents tonight vented their anger with St. Louis City Hall over the plans to expand Lambert Airport through their city.
And the people of Bridgeton vow they are not going to give up their homes and neighborhoods without a fight. Channel 5's Jeff Fowler has the story.
To the cheers of an estimated 400 Bridgeton residents, St. Louis Mayor Vince Schoemehl was burned in effigy tonight. Schoemehl has become the focal point of the anger here. And the people of Bridgeton are reacting to today's expansion announcement with fear and defiance.
I retired about 1.5 years ago, and it looks like my house is going to be retired with me. It doesn't look too promising.
This is my home. I grew up here. I don't want to see it destroyed.
At one point tonight, many Bridgeton residents turned off all the lights in their homes for 15 minutes to protest today's decision. Earlier tonight, Bridgeton city officials got a private briefing on the expansion with airport officials. But they weren't buying arguments that a new runway won't damage the city.
And if you think that we are going to sit by and watch a runway like an alley through these residential areas and not object in the strongest possible way, you're wrong.
St. Louis city officials said afterward they want to work with Bridgeton, not against them.
This is the time for communication, and we think we're opening the doors today to begin that process.
But that did not play well with the people at the bonfire tonight, who say it's their homes and neighborhoods on the line, and they say they're not going to give up without a fight. In Bridgeton, Jeff Fowler, Channel 5 Eyewitness News.
And the spark that ignited this controversy is dubbed the F4 proposal.
The F4 proposal won unanimous approval from the Airport Commission today, and our Night Beat reporter, Huel Perkins, has had a look at it now and has some more details on it. Huel?
Karen, Dick, some say it's good for business. The plan is a costly, ambitious expansion program for Lambert, and despite its unanimous send-off, the flight ahead will be a bumpy one.
The F4 proposal outlines a 15-year, $935 million construction program that would add 3 new runways to the airport. Runways designed to speed up the flow of air traffic during bad weather or congestion. The far west runway would push Lambert right into Bridgeton, forcing the removal of more than 900 homes.
This airport is terribly impacted with residents around it. And that no matter what we do here, it's going to be a traumatic experience for some people. And we've tried to minimize that. We really have.
Despite the additional runways, planners say noise levels would not increase. The expansion would double Lambert's passenger capacity by the year 2010. Some say it would also mean a big financial boost for St. Louis.
It has a significant impact upon our economy. That airport generates about $2 billion a year in economic impact to St. Louis.
But many remain skeptical, including 2nd District Congressman Jack Buechner, who is not sure expansion is really needed.
A lot of these estimates are based upon a geometric increase of passengers, which includes in it what happened during the deregulation. I don't think you're going to see that same kind of a hump occur again. So there are a lot of economic and statistical factors which I don't think have been adequately answered.
And some Bridgeton business owners complain a new runway could cost them 2/3 of their customers and possibly force them out of business.
It's going to hurt the business because I would say 60% of our clientele is local.
Now, construction is still years away. The FAA must approve the plan subject to a 2-year environmental impact study. The FAA also wants the Airport Commission to study the idea of a new replacement airport, possibly in Far West County, then compare the two plans.
So we're shades of 20 years ago.
Indeed it is.
Okay, thank you, Huel.
One of those runways will cut across Lindbergh, Fifi, and Natural Bridge, slicing through Bridgeton. Bridgeton officials and residents have been fighting the expansion idea since the beginning, and that fight isn't over yet. Rocky Madden reports from Bridgeton that activity there is hot and heavy.
At 8 o'clock, the lights went out in Bridgeton, a symbolic gesture aimed at the Airport Commission.
We aren't happy at all with the plan in Bridgeton, and we'd like the city of St. Louis and all of the St. Louis area to know exactly how wide of an area would really be affected by this plan.
Earlier this evening, Bridgeton City Council members met with airport officials to learn exactly which homes will be gone. But we're told that information won't be released for another 2 weeks. Mayor Schoemehl's chief of staff is hoping things don't get worse between Bridgeton and the city of St. Louis.
I would hope that this is not going to be a battle.
No expansion! No expansion!
But for people in Bridgeton, the battle began long ago.
We strongly feel that it's a great place to live, and we hate to see someone that's not involved from the city come out and try to take away what we've built over the years.
Tonight, a huge bonfire brought together hundreds in the community, a huge pep rally in which the Schoemehl effigy was burned.
I think they're just horrified what's being done to them.
Bridgeton officials hope the spirit these people feel tonight will burn brightly long after these flames have died. They know they could be in for a long fight. Rocky Madden, Channel 2 News, Bridgeton.
The effigy burning of Mayor Schoemehl was not an official act, nor was it intended to be part of tonight's rally. Embarrassed officials say kids did it. There's one other hang-up to all of this. The owner of a phone message service says the Bridgeton Air Defense, or BAT, got a hold of a phone line and put on a Mayor Schoemehl joke of the day. The line was flooded with 500 to 1,000 calls each day, so the owner of the answering service pulled the plug, which has made the bad protesters mad.
This is News 4 St. Louis Nightside.
Good evening. It will be Friday the 13th, just less than 2 hours from now, a day computer owners are dreading.
This one. We'll let you know how things are going around the country and in this area with regard to those computers. Here's what else is happening. Bridgeton residents are out tonight protesting plans to expand Lambert Airport into their community. News 4 Nightside reporter Eric Thomas says their anger is apparently heating up.
It may have looked like these Bridgeton residents were getting ready for the high school homecoming bonfire, but this was serious business for those involved. The target, Lambert Airport expansion, something that never fails to raise the hackles of local residents.
We still do not believe that it has really been shown that we need the kind of expansion they're talking about, or if they are so sure that that much expansion is needed, is this really going to be the end effort? We don't think so. We think it's a Band-Aid effect, and sooner or later they're going to have to go somewhere else.
I live on this side of 270, so it would not be in a buyout, but it would destroy our subdivision. And that's just as bad as buying us out. It'd be better to buy the whole subdivision than tear our subdivision in half.
Later, the bonfire was lit, and the model of an airplane burned, and an effigy of St. Louis Mayor Vince Schoemehl put in a position to feel the heat, both representing Lambert Airport expansion and showing not very subtly how most people feel about the plan. Most, but not everyone. Bridgeton resident John McClintock is against the expansion, but he says if it must come, he hopes it happens soon.
My point was, let's get it on. Let's get on with the project. Let's get on with the process. Give us a good market appraisal and get us out of here.
Up to now, the symbol of Bridgeton's opposition to airport expansion had taken the form of yellow ribbons. This bonfire tonight may signal the start of a new and more active opposition. Bridgeton's mayor says he'll consider every option to fighting the airport, including legal action. Eric Thomas, News 4 Nightside, Bridgeton.